We're going to talk about the application of this theory in nursing. So I found a study that was done. It was one of the only quantifiable studies I could find in how this theory can be applied. And the study first kind of laid down what coping behavior is and what its effect is. So coping behavior is one of the largest factors that reduces or eliminates the effects of job stress on psychological and physiological homeostasis. And they defined 3 different types of coping strategies in this study. They had distance coping, which is like avoiding contact or ignoring; reassessing coping, taking a pragmatic view, or kind of not taking it seriously, making a joke of it; and then constructive coping, reflecting on your own conduct and trying to understand the other person's point of view, or like being empathetic. So what they did, it was a study done. It was a Japanese study, and they interviewed 204 Japanese nurses, and the results of the study found that distancing coping was correlated with high psychological distress. Reassessing coping and constructive coping were associated with much less psychological distress. And they found that constructive coping, involving effective communication with patients and improving patient-nurse relationships, enhances job satisfaction. But another way to kind of visualize how you could apply this, how this theory is also applied, is I also found an article, a South African article, and they kind of laid out a great example of how to clarify the transactional model in mental health care. So they have, for example, a student nurse who is assessing a patient. The mentally ill patient verbally abuses the student. So the primary appraisal, so this student assesses the demand as the patient's response to being admitted against his will. In the secondary appraisal, which is a coping, student overcomes the initial anger and bases coping on the fact that the patient is mentally ill. The student states firmly that this type of abuse won't be tolerated. And then the reappraisal, and like, how effective was this coping? The student waits for the patient to respond. The patient apologizes for the verbal abuse. The nurse decides that a firm approach is an effective coping strategy.